and one of the keys is protecting the football, blocking people up, getting the tough yards, and there'll be tough yards against this defense.
Coach Moore, we had a question on now your third bowl game. Talk about what your experience was and how you changed from year 1 to year 3 and how you treated bowl week.
Yeah, I don't have near the experience as the man to my right has in terms of, anything, but particularly bowls. And so every year is a chance for me to learn how to handle the week more efficiently, prepare our players better to be ready to go at kickoff. We've tried to mirror as much as possible what we have thought was successful for us in the last 2 bowls through the week, most particularly last year at the Sun Bowl. Really what you try to do is create as much normalcy as you can in an environment that's really not normal. And I think that at this point in time, after the luncheons, things then settle into the typical routine that you have created through the season leading up to kickoff. And so that's our objective.
Coach Snyder, a 2-part question. Number 1, how many more years do you plan on being head coach at Kansas State?
I have no idea. And how did I know you were going to ask that question? Right. For those of you that are not local in Manhattan, this is the master of the question down here. He's always got one that I never want to deal with. So,
Number 2, then, in that case, I was just curious, what keeps you young in this game? What keeps you going?
trust me, I'm not young. Jim said certain things that he didn't have that I have. He's got everything that I have with the exception of 100 years. He does everything extremely well, so he's not lacking for anything there.
Jim, kind of along the same lines, when the 49ers job opened up earlier this week, there was immediate speculation that they might contact you. Have you been contacted, and if so, would that be of interest to you to listen to them about what they might offer?
I prefer to concentrate on this game tomorrow night at 5:50 against Kansas State University. I think that you do everyone a disservice that's put so much into this season and gotten to this point. If you think about anything other than the task at hand, and the task at hand is kicking off and playing well against a great Kansas State team tomorrow.
Hi, Jim. So it doesn't become a distraction, can you just say now that I'm going to be staying at UCLA?
I have no plans to coach anywhere but UCLA at this time.
Coach Snyder, over here. I remember you taking questions about that Holiday Bowl about UCLA a long time ago. That's interesting. It strikes me that every program has to build their roster their own way. But over the last couple days, we've had 10 players in here, 5 are former walk-ons, 5 or 6 from Kansas. Can you talk about how you've gone about building this roster and kind of the unique script you had to follow to get to this point?
Well, I can't tell you that segment of it is scripted, Fitz. It's, there are young guys all over, and we're kind of isolated in the Midwest, and an awful lot of people, I think, get overlooked, because of that. And when I say overlooked, it's not necessarily the ability to run 4 340s and bench press 350 pounds and all that goes along with it. There's just character traits that are significant. You've heard me, say this so many times that really are significant. I mean, you can put a young guy in a weight room and he can go from 220 to 300 if that's what you want. I mean, you can do all those things. You remember, a young guy, Jason Johnson. Jason came in a long time ago. Jason's a 215-pound tight end, and we moved him to center, and pretty soon he's a 305-pound center, and he's got a 7-8-year NFL career with it. It's just being able to, identify young people that have those character traits, the value system in place, that you can develop over a period of time. And that's true no matter, whether they're 4 340 guys or 5 flat 40 guys. It's the character assessment is really, evaluate us. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't have, some athletic ability. You take any of the guys that you're talking about, whether it's Jonathan Truman or B.J. Finney or Ryan Mueller, any of those guys, and so many more, Randall Evans, I could go on and on. Those are guys that came and are in the category you're talking about, but that doesn't mean that they were without talent. I mean, they had the ability to play the game. What we're interested in is, how far can you go with it, and what's your value system allow you to do? Is it going to temper your improvement, or is it going to give you the opportunity to continually improve? And those guys have done exactly that.
Bill, you know as much about dual threat quarterbacks as anyone around. Can you just talk about Hunley and what special problems he presents for your defense?
Well, there's always talk about how well he throws the ball, how well he runs with the ball. I think he manages the offense extremely well, which is vital for a quality young quarterback. But those guys that can do it all, and he can bring it down and bring it out at any time, and whether it's on the perimeter or whether it's inside, that's a threat that neutralizes your defense a great deal. And he's good at it and makes good decisions with it, I think. So he's got good eyes and plays the game with him quite well. He's a very talented young guy, and from what I hear, I haven't met him yet. But from what I understand, Jim could tell you, I certainly couldn't. But he certainly seems like a quality young man, and seems like a quality leader in the program as well. And all those things fit into that category. I mean, I think you have to have it all to be the kind of quarterback that he is.
I got one for each of you. Coach Mora, having coached in both the NFL and college, I was curious how you think Coach Snyder's schemes and philosophy would translate to the NFL if he ever did try it. And Coach Snyder, what was it about? Was there ever anything about the NFL coaching there that did intrigue you in some way?
Well, I think the people from Manhattan or our area, could tell you that. I mean, way back when there were all those opportunities, I've just never been interested in it. That doesn't make it bad by any stretch of the imagination. It always concerned me that when you've got players that make more money than their coaches, you kind of wonder who's the authority figure, in that alignment. Like I said, Jim can tell you more about it than I can. I remember a story. We had a young player, I won't mention his name, that was a quarterback in the NFL, and it was a starting quarterback and the backup quarterback they brought in, and paid him a substantial amount of money, more so than the quarterback that we had. And the night before one of their ball games, I don't remember which one, the backup quarterback went to the general manager of the program or whoever was in charge, and they had some dialogue, and the quarterback that I was familiar with got a call in the middle of the night, said, "You're not starting anymore." And it's who has the control, whether you can really coach or not. You see the same thing that's talked right now in the NBA, with a player and a coach, and who has control over the program. And that's something I would, I'm not a control freak, but I think it is important that you have control over your program. I don't know how much that exists, and I mean, certainly there's most programs perhaps do have total control with the coach. I don't know, I just don't know, but it didn't seem like that. So that was my thinking. I didn't venture into any of that.
You may answer. I can't remember who asked the question, I'm sorry. Football at every level, in my humble opinion, is about fundamentals, it's about effort, it's about discipline, it's about technique, it's about talent, it's about having standards. I don't think it's about formations and plays. I think it's about coaching. And we used to say, players, not formations and plays, are going to win games for you. So I think you can take any style of offense or defense, and if you execute it properly with good players who bought into the system, then you can have success.
Bill, I can't imagine you not being back because you'd miss the witty banter back and forth between us each week. So I'll start off with that. But I am curious, over the years, how successful have you been engaging the readiness of your football team, which seems like a silly question to ask, but I'm wondering how much capacity for surprise is there, even at this stage of your career, as it relates to the readiness of your football team to play a game?
You know, it really isn't a silly question. It's one I think Jim, probably asks himself the same question as I do. It's how well, how mentally ready is each member of your football team, and it's different for each and every one of them. And it's not always something that you gauge correctly. I certainly haven't always gauged it correctly. I've been surprised both ways, I think. Try not to. Try not to impose the impression that I totally have the answer. I mean, you have a way that you approach, each day of the week and night before the game and the day throughout the game. You have a routine and you have certain things that you know are important, that you feel at least that are important in your program. We do, Jim does, and those are the things that you address. And more often than not, those really are, just experience over a period of time allows you to find that those things are appropriate for the preparation of your football team. But guessing, exactly, how they internalize it all is, it's a very difficult task. It's an impossible task, I think, as much as anything. If you guess right, you're fortunate.
Coach Mora, Coach Snyder's had to answer this question weekly about Tyler Lockett, so I'll give you a Tyler Lockett question today. As someone who's coached on both sides of the college and NFL barrier, when you see someone like Tyler Lockett who doesn't have the maybe prototypical size, how do you evaluate him as a receiver and his potential to move on to the next level?
Well, I think he's a tremendous player. I think he's got a lot of the same qualities as a young man like Marvin Harrison has. Guy that's a precise route runner, that is good after the catch, that's not afraid to go over the middle, that knows how to read coverage and get himself open. And then you add in his return ability, particularly as a punt returner, and this is a dangerous young man. He's, in my opinion, he's the best receiver we've played all year, and I think his statistics would prove that, and it's going to be a great challenge for us. But I think that the skill set that he has translates well at any level. And I would imagine, and Coach can answer this, he's probably one of the hardest working players on your team. So at least he plays that way.
Coach, wanted to ask both of you, how do you address your team about a situation that happened in the BYU postseason game?
Well, if you're referencing the altercation, is that what we're talking about? Again, that's not something that you go in the night before a ball game, during the course of a ball game, and say, okay, this is the way we have to manage, these situations. That's ingrained in your program, from the very beginning. From day one, there's a code of conduct, if you will, for virtually any program in the country. And I've certainly, watching as much tape as we do of Jim's team, you see that they, handle themselves in an appropriate way. It's selfishness that creates those situations more than anything else. And, I think our young people have been good. The spur of the moment reaction sometimes is, hard to come by and difficult to assess. But, I think if you can't wait. It's just something that's ingrained in your players that, these things do not happen. We're not going to allow them to happen, and it has to be a mindset, and you have to understand the value of it. You have to have, enough poise, I think, in order to walk away from those things. And I'm proud of our young guys because they certainly do that, have done that.
I think it's ingrained in the culture of your program from day one. You impress upon your student athletes that they're going to play hard, they're going to play tough, they're going to play physical. but at the same time, it's mandatory that they respect their opponent and honor this great game.
For Coach Snyder, for those of us in a certain age group, Coach, has AARP asked you to be a spokesperson?
No, but I have a card.